The obsidian throne room stretched high above Emperor Vexthar's head, its walls carved from a single massive asteroid that his ancestors had claimed 10,000 years ago. He sat on his throne, wings folded behind him, listening to reports from his advisors. His scales, deep crimson mixed with gold, reflected the light from the plasma fires that burned in ceremonial bowls around the chamber. The mining operation on Kelsor 7 is exceeding expectations. Your Majesty, one advisor reported, bowing his horned head low. We have extracted enough rare metals to build 15 new warships. Vexithar nodded. His empire spanned 40 star systems. Everywhere the Draconis flag flew, other species bowed. Dragons were superior in every way that mattered. They lived for thousands of years. Their scales could withstand laser fire. They could survive in the vacuum of space for short periods, flying between ships without suits. No other species could match their physical power. Good, Vexthar said, his voice deep and rumbling. Continue the operation. What else? The advisors exchanged glances. Finally, the oldest one, a gray-scaled dragon named Morthas, stepped forward. His expression was carefully neutral, but Vexthar could see the discomfort in his eyes. Your Majesty, we must discuss the matter of your youngest offspring. Vexithar's claws tightened on the arms of his throne. He knew this conversation was coming. He had been dreading it for weeks. Speak, he commanded, though his heart felt heavy. Prince Kylix is now 3 months old. The medical scans are complete. The genetic defect is permanent. His wings are underdeveloped. They will never support flight. His exoskeleton is 30% weaker than normal. He cannot survive the traditional trials. He cannot fight. He cannot represent the royal bloodline with honor. The words hung in the air like poison. Vexthar had seen his son. Kylix was small even for a hatchling. His wings were twisted and thin, more like membranes than the powerful appendages that should carry a dragon through the stars. When other hatchlings were already learning to glide, Kylix could barely stand without his legs shaking. What do you recommend? Vexthar asked, though he already knew the answer. The rehabilitation colony on Moon Tarsus 9, Morthas said quietly. It is the traditional solution. The facility is comfortable. He will be cared for. But he will be apart, away from court, away from the bloodline. It is the merciful option, Your Majesty. Better than the old ways, the old ways. Vexthar remembered the stories his grandfather had told him. In ancient times, defective hatchlings were simply left on barren moons to die. At least now they were kept alive in hidden facilities. It was progress, his advisor said. It was compassionate, but it did not feel compassionate. The Empress? Vexthar asked. She agrees it is necessary. She weeps, but she understands. Tradition must be maintained. The royal bloodline must appear strong. If our enemies knew we produced a defective heir, they would see it as weakness. Vexthar closed his eyes. His mate, the Empress Shavira, had barely spoken since Kylix's diagnosis. She spent her days in the nursery, holding the small hatchling, singing to him in the old language. But she had not argued when the advisors first suggested the colony. How could she? 10,000 years of tradition was not something one questioned lightly. Make the arrangements, Vexthar said finally. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. Discreetly. I do not want the court to know the details. Of course, Your Majesty. The transport can be ready within the week. The advisors bowed and left. Vexthar sat alone on his throne, feeling older than his 3,000 years. He was the dragon monarch. He ruled an empire. His word could end civilizations or create them. But he could not protect his own son from tradition. That evening he went to the nursery. Kylix was sleeping in a heated pod designed for hatchlings. He was so small. His scales were a beautiful shade of blue-green like his mother's. His tiny chest rose and fell with each breath. When Vexthar approached, the hatchling opened one eye and made a small chirping sound. Hello, little one, Vexthar whispered. He extended one claw and gently stroked his son's head. Kylix leaned into the touch, making a soft, contented sound. How could something so perfect be considered defective? But Vexthar pushed the thought away. He was emperor. He had responsibilities. Tradition existed for a reason. The strong survived. The weak were protected, yes, but they could not lead. They could not represent the empire. It was simply the way things were. 3 days later, the transport was ready. Vexthar's security detail would escort Kylix to the colony. But first, there was a diplomatic layover at Station Nexus 7, a massive trade hub where dozens of species conducted business. Vexthar had a meeting with the Centauri ambassador. It was important. It could not be delayed. Station Nexus 7 was crowded and loud. Vexthar's security detail cleared a path through the markets and docking bays. Other species hurried out of the way. Dragons commanded respect wherever they went. Vexthar barely noticed. His mind was elsewhere, thinking of his son being carried in a sealed container in the middle of the security formation. "Your Majesty, the meeting location is on the upper level," one guard informed him. "But the lifts are crowded. May I suggest we stop briefly at the human establishment nearby? You can review your notes while we wait for the crowd to clear." Vexthar looked around. Humans ran many of the service businesses on neutral stations. They were good at hospitality and trade, physically weak compared to dragons but clever with their hands and minds. Useful in their way. "Fine," he agreed. The restaurant was called Maya's Place, though Vexthar did not know that. The sign was in human script, which he could read but did not bother to. His guards entered first, scanning for threats. Then Vexthar ducked through the doorway, his wings folded tight to fit through the human-sized entrance. Inside, the restaurant was clean and well lit. Human music played softly in the background. A few patrons looked up nervously as the dragons entered, then quickly looked away. No one wanted to attract the attention of the dragon monarch. Vexthar took a seat at a large table that could barely accommodate his size. His guards spread out around the room. One of them carried the container holding calyx, placing it carefully on the floor near the wall. A human female approached the table. She was young, with dark skin and hair tied back in a practical style. She wore the simple uniform of a server and carried a datapad for taking orders. "Good afternoon," she said in Galactic Common, her accent marking her as from Earth's colonies. "Welcome to Maya's Place. Can I get you anything?" Her voice was steady, but Vexthar could see the slight tremor in her hands. Humans were always nervous around dragons. It was natural. They were prey species after all. But this one held her ground, meeting his eyes with professional courtesy. "Water," Vexthar said. "For all of us, of course. I'll be right back." As the human walked away, Vexthar returned his attention to his datapad. He needed to focus on the upcoming meeting. The Centauri were difficult allies. They required careful handling. He did not see the container malfunction. He did not see the seal crack. He only heard the sound of metal hitting the floor, and then a high-pitched cry of pain that made his blood run cold. His son's cry. Vexthar's head snapped up. Across the restaurant, Calyx had tumbled from the broken container onto the hard floor. The hatchling was crying, his small body curled in pain. His fragile bones had not been made to withstand such an impact, and every person in the restaurant, dragon and alien alike, simply stared. The security guard who had been carrying Calyx froze. His face went pale beneath his scales. Dropping a royal hatchling was a crime punishable by death, but touching a defective royal in public could be even worse. The guard stood paralyzed, his claws trembling. The other dragons in the security detail looked at each other with panic in their eyes. What should they do? Tradition said they should not touch the hatchling. He was marked for the colony. He was already separate from the bloodline. But he was also the Emperor's son. And he was crying in pain on the dirty floor of a human restaurant. Vexthar started to rise from his seat, but custom held him back for a moment. An emperor did not rush. An emperor did not show panic, even for his own son. The weight of his crown felt heavier than ever. Around the restaurant, other patrons turned away. A Centauri couple quickly paid their bill and left. A group of insectoid traders buzzed nervously and focused on their food. No one wanted to be involved. A defective dragon hatchling was bad luck. Everyone knew that. Calyx cried again, a desperate sound that cut through Vexthar's heart like a blade. Then someone moved. The human waitress, the one who had just taken their order, dropped her datapad. It clattered to the floor, forgotten. She ran across the restaurant, her steps quick and determined. She did not hesitate. She did not look around for permission. She simply moved. "It's okay, baby," she said, her voice soft and soothing. "It's okay. I've got you." She dropped to her knees beside Calyx. Her hands hovered over him for a moment, and Vexthar saw her eyes scanning his body. She was looking for injuries, checking to see where he was hurt. "Shh, shh," she whispered. You're okay. Let me help you. The dragons watched in shock. What was this human doing? Did she not understand what she was touching? Did she not know the customs? But the human did not seem to care about customs. She gently ran her fingers along Calyx's twisted wings, feeling for broken bones. She checked his legs, his tail, his small head. Her movements were practiced and sure. She knew what she was doing. Nothing broken, she murmured. Just bruised. You're going to be okay, sweetheart. Calyx's crying quieted. He looked up at the human with wide, confused eyes. Then he made a small chirping sound, the sound hatchlings make when they are comforted. That's right, the human said, smiling. You're a brave little one, aren't you? Then she did something that made every dragon in the room gasp. She slid her arms beneath Calyx's body, positioned herself carefully, and lifted him. The hatchling was small for a dragon, but he still weighed over 200 pounds. Humans were not strong like dragons. They were weak. Everyone knew that. But this human lifted Calyx as if she had done it 1,000 times before. Her legs shook with the effort. Her arms trembled. Sweat appeared on her forehead. But she held him steady and secure, cradling him against her chest. There we go, she said, breathing hard. I've got you. You're safe. She carried Calyx across the restaurant toward the stunned security guards. Every step looked like it cost her, but she did not stop. She did not put him down. She held him, with a gentleness that seemed impossible for a creature carrying so much weight. When she reached the guards, she carefully transferred Calyx into the arms of the nearest one. The guard took the hatchling automatically, still too shocked to speak. He's okay, the human said, wiping her forehead. Just scared and bruised. You should check him properly when you get somewhere quiet. Ice on the bruises if you can. Then she turned and met Vexithar's eyes. The emperor of the Draconis Empire stared at this human female. She was breathing hard. Her uniform was wrinkled from kneeling on the floor. There were tears in her eyes, but she did not look away from him. Vexithar rose from his seat and walked toward her. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the emperor could kill with a single swipe of his claws. Everyone knew he was ancient and powerful and not to be trifled with. You touched my son, Vexithar said quietly. The human swallowed. Yes. You know he is. Defective. Marked for the colony. That is why he was in the container. The human's expression changed, confusion mixed with something that looked like anger. Defective? She repeated. He's a baby. He was hurt. What does defective mean? He cannot fly. His bones are weak. He is not fit for the bloodline. The human stared at him as if he had spoken in a language she could not understand. Then she shook her head. I don't care if he can fly or not. He's a child. He was in pain. Did you expect me to just leave him there? Others did, Vexithar pointed out, gesturing to the empty tables where patrons had been sitting. Then they're wrong, the human said simply. Where I come from, you don't leave children on the floor no matter what they look like or what they can or can't do. Vexithar studied her. She was small, fragile. She could barely lift his son. Yet she had acted when dragons, powerful and strong, had stood frozen. What is your name? He asked. Maya Rodriguez. You were a soldier, Maya Rodriguez. I can tell by the way you checked for injuries, by the way you lifted him. Maya nodded. Combat medic, Earth Defense Force. Did 3 tours during the Outer Rim conflicts. Why are you working in a restaurant? Because the war is over and this pays better than military pensions. I'm saving money to send home. My family needs it. You have family. A mother, 2 brothers, a sister. My little brother Miguel, he has cerebral palsy. That's a condition that affects how his body moves. He uses a mobility chair. But he's the smartest person I know. He's studying to be an engineer. Maya's voice was full of pride. He is. Defective. Vexithar used the word carefully, watching her reaction. Maya's eyes flashed. He's disabled. That's different. He has challenges, sure. But he's not broken. He's not less than anyone else. He just needs different tools to do the same things. In my culture, such individuals are sent to colonies, to live away from society. That's horrible, Maya said flatly. She seemed to forget she was speaking to an emperor. Why would you do that? Because only the strong can survive. Only the strong can lead. It has been our way for 10,000 years. Maya crossed her arms. And how's that working out for you? You have a baby on the floor of a restaurant and none of your strong warriors knew what to do with him. The words hit Vexthar like a physical blow. She was right. His guards, trained, warriors who could fight in the vacuum of space had been helpless, but this weak human had known exactly what to do. Humans are different, Maya continued, her voice softer now. We're not the strongest species. We're not the fastest. We don't live as long as you do. But we're really good at one thing. We take care of each other. We have to. Because if we didn't, we would have gone extinct a long time ago. Weakness helping weakness, Vexthar said, but there was no scorn in his voice, only curiosity. Strength helping strength is easy, Maya replied. The real challenge is making sure everyone gets the help they need no matter who they are or what they can do. That's what makes a society strong. Not just the warriors. Everyone. Vexithar looked at his son, still cradled in the guard's arms. Kylix had stopped crying. He was watching Maya with his large eyes, making soft, contented sounds. An idea formed in the Emperor's mind. It was radical. It was against tradition. His advisors would hate it. But as he looked at this small human who had shown more courage and compassion than anyone in his court, he knew what he had to do. Maya Rodriguez, he said formally, I have a proposal for you. Maya stared at the Emperor, her heart pounding. A proposal? From the ruler of the most powerful empire in known space? Nothing good ever came from getting the attention of people that powerful. She had learned that lesson during the war. What kind of proposal? She asked carefully. Vexthar gestured to Kylix. My son was supposed to go to a colony, a place where defective dragons are kept. But watching you with him made me realize something. Perhaps there is another way. A better way? I'm listening. Come to Pyrithia Prime, my homeworld. Care for my son. Teach him. Help him grow strong in whatever ways he can. You will be paid well, very well. Enough to send money to your family and still have plenty for yourself. Maya's mind raced. Leave the station. Go to the dragon homeworld. No human had ever been offered such a position. It was unheard of. Your Majesty, I'm not a dragon expert. I don't know anything about your biology or your culture. I just knew how to help a hurt kid. That's all. That is more than my own people could do, Vexthar said. You acted when warriors stood frozen. You saw my son as a child who needed help, not as a problem to be hidden away. That is the perspective I need. But surely you have doctors, specialists, people who actually know what they're doing. They know how to treat diseases and injuries, but they do not know how to help someone thrive with a disability. That concept does not exist in our culture. You said your brother is disabled but successful. You understand something we do not. Maya looked at Kylix. The small dragon was watching her with intelligent eyes. He made a small chirping sound as if asking her to stay. If I say yes, Maya said slowly, I do things my way. I research, I learn. I make mistakes and try again. I won't promise miracles. I can't make his wings work if they're not built to work. But I can help him find what he's good at. Deal? Vexthar's eyes gleamed. Deal. 3 days later, Maya stood on the landing platform of the Imperial Palace, watching the twin suns of Pyrithia Prime set behind the mountains. The palace was enormous, built into the side of a volcanic mountain. Molten rivers flowed through channels in the walls, providing heat and light. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. A dragon servant, smaller than Vexthar but still twice Maya's size, showed her to her quarters. The room was huge by human standards, with a bed that could fit 6 people, and windows that overlooked the capital city below. The Emperor requests your presence in the nursery tomorrow morning, the servant said, her tone neutral but her eyes cold. Someone will fetch you. Thank you, Maya said. The servant left without another word. Maya sat on the edge of the massive bed and pulled out her communicator. She sent a message home to Earth, telling her family she was safe and had a new job. She did not mention where. They would worry too much. That night, Maya barely slept. The bed was too big. The room was too hot. And she could hear dragons flying outside her window, their wings making sounds like thunder. In the morning, a different servant came to get her. This one was older, with gray scales and scars across his snout. "I am Morthus," he said, the Emperor's chief advisor. "Follow me." He led Maya through endless corridors. Other dragons stopped and stared as they passed. Some whispered. Maya caught words in Galactic Common. Human, improper, disgrace. "They don't like me being here," Maya observed. "No," Morthus agreed. "They do not. You represent change. Dragons do not like change. Do you like me being here?" Morthus was quiet for a moment. "I do not know yet. But the Emperor has made his decision. We serve the Emperor." They reached the nursery. It was a large room with heated pools and soft nesting materials. Calyx was in one of the pools, splashing weakly. When he saw Maya, he chirped excitedly and tried to climb out. "Careful." Maya rushed forward and helped him out of the pool. His scales were warm and slippery. "You're going to hurt yourself." The Empress, Shavira, watched from a cushioned seat nearby. She was beautiful, with blue-green scales that shimmered in the light, but her eyes were sad. "You are the human," she said softly. "Yes, Your Majesty. My name is Maya. Can you really help him?" There was desperate hope in her voice. "I don't know yet," Maya said honestly, "but I'm going to try. I promise you that." Over the next few weeks, Maya threw herself into work. She studied dragon biology with the palace doctors. She learned that dragons had two hearts, that their scales grew in patterns that indicated genetic health, that their wings needed certain minerals to develop properly. She also learned that Calyx's condition was not just weak wings. His entire skeletal structure was more fragile than normal. He tired easily. He could not regulate his body temperature as well as other dragons, but she also found his strengths. He was curious. He loved to learn. When Maya read to him from datapads, he absorbed information like a sponge. He asked questions constantly. His mind was sharp and quick. "You're smart, little guy," Maya told him one day. "Really smart." Calyx chirped happily and nuzzled against her hand. Maya started making changes. She worked with engineers to design a support brace for Calyx's wings. It would not make him fly, but it would help him glide short distances. She created a physical therapy routine to strengthen his muscles without damaging his fragile bones. She introduced soft padding to his sleeping area to prevent injuries. The dragon nobility hated every change. "This is not how we do things," one noble complained to Vexthar during a court session. "The human is filling the hatchling's head with false hope. He will never be a proper dragon." "What is a proper dragon?" Vexthar asked. The noble sputtered. "One who can fly, fight, hunt. One who brings honor to his house." "My son brings me honor every day," Vexthar said coldly. "He learns faster than any hatchling I have seen. He solves puzzles that stump adults. Maya has shown him how to use his mind as his weapon. That is strength." But the whispers continued. Maya felt the hostility everywhere she went. Dragons would fall silent when she entered a room. Her food sometimes arrived cold or not at all. Once she found her quarters had been searched, her belongings scattered. She reported none of it to Vexthar. She had dealt with worse during the war. She could handle some angry nobles. What she could not handle was seeing Calyx sad. One day she found him crying in the nursery. He was watching other young dragons flying outside the window, their wings strong and sure. "I want to fly like them," he said in halting Galactic Common. Maya had been teaching him. "I know, sweetheart," Maya said, sitting beside him. "I know it's hard. Am I broken?" The question broke Maya's heart. She pulled Calyx close, ignoring the heat from his scales. "No, you are not broken. You are different. And different is not bad. Different is just different. But I cannot do what they do." "That's true, but you can do things they cannot do. You can solve puzzles they cannot solve. You understand things they do not understand. You are kind and curious and brave. Those are good things, important things. Father says I will be a strategist. He says my mind is my strength. Your father is right. Some people fight with their bodies. Some people fight with their minds. Both are important. Both are needed." Calyx was quiet for a moment. "You are different too. You are human. You are small. Yep, very small compared to you guys. But you are not weak. You carried me. You help me every day. You do not give up." Maya smiled. "That's the human way. We don't give up on each other, ever." "Then I will not give up either," Calyx decided. "I will be strong like a human." Maya laughed and ruffled the small crest on his head. "You'll be strong like yourself. That's even better." Outside, storm clouds gathered over the palace. Change was coming to the Draconis Empire. Not everyone would welcome it. But watching Calyx play with his new wing brace, attempting small glides across the nursery, Maya knew it was the right change, even if it made her a target. The Council of Noble Houses met in secret, deep in the lower levels of the palace. 7 dragons sat around a circular table, their scales gleaming in the dim light. They were the heads of the oldest and most powerful families in the empire. They had served the throne for generations, and they were furious. Lord Venkar, head of House Crimson, slammed his claw on the table. This has gone too far. The Emperor parades that human around like she is royalty. She sits at the royal table. She advises him on matters of state. It is an insult to every dragon in the empire. The hatchling should be in the colony, Lady Thurxa added, her voice cold. Instead, he lives in the palace, weak and broken, a reminder of our imperfection. Other species see this and think we are soft. The Emperor has changed, another noble said. He used to be strong, decisive, now he questions tradition. He speaks of compassion and adaptation. These are human ideas. Weak ideas. Morthus sat at the table silent. As chief advisor, he had been invited to this meeting. He did not like what he was hearing, but he understood their concerns. Change was dangerous. Change could destroy everything they had built. What do you propose? He asked quietly. Venkar leaned forward. The human must go, and the hatchling must be sent to the colony, as was originally planned. If the Emperor will not do it, then we must act. You speak of assassination, Morthus said flatly. I speak of preservation, of tradition, of protecting the Empire from weakness. The Emperor will not forgive such an act. The Emperor will understand in time. We will present it as a tragic accident, a human working with dangerous equipment. These things happen, and with the human gone, the Emperor will see reason. He will send the hatchling away and things will return to normal. Morthus looked around the table. Every dragon was nodding. They had already decided. This meeting was just a formality. When? He asked. The Spring Festival. 3 days from now. There will be crowds, chaos, ceremony. The perfect opportunity. Morthus said nothing more. When the meeting ended, he walked slowly back to his quarters. He should report this to the Emperor. That was his duty. But was it his duty to protect tradition or to enable change? He had lived for 2,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched as the Draconis Empire grew strong through discipline and tradition. Every time someone had suggested change, disaster had followed. Tradition kept them stable. Tradition kept them powerful. But he had also watched Calyx over the past months. He had seen the hatchling grow from a crying, helpless thing into a curious, intelligent child. He had seen the joy in the Empress's eyes when her son solved a complex puzzle. He had heard Vexithar laugh for the first time in centuries when Calyx successfully glided across a room using his brace. Was that weakness, or was it something else? Morthus did not know anymore, so he said nothing. The Spring Festival was the biggest celebration of the year. Dragons came from across the empire to attend. The palace was decorated with banners and lights. Market stalls filled the courtyards. Musicians played traditional songs. Young dragons performed aerial displays, their wings painting patterns in the sky. Maya watched from a balcony, holding Calyx in her arms. The hatchling was fascinated by everything, pointing at the displays and asking questions. Why do they spin like that? It's a dance, Maya explained. They're showing off their flying skills. I wish I could dance like that. You can dance in other ways. You don't need wings to move beautifully. Calyx thought about this. Will you teach me? Sure, buddy. We can work on it tomorrow. Below them, Vexthar was giving a speech to the gathered crowd. He talked about prosperity and strength and the glory of the empire. But then he said something that made the nobles in the crowd stiffen. We also celebrate change, Vexthar said. We celebrate growth. I have learned much in recent months. I have learned that strength comes in many forms, that wisdom can be found in unexpected places, and that tradition, while important, must sometimes evolve to keep us strong. He gestured to the balcony where Maya stood with Calyx. My son, Prince Calyx, may not fly like other dragons, but he thinks like no one else I have ever known. He solves problems that stump my advisors. He asks questions that make me reconsider 10,000 years of assumptions. That is a different kind of strength. A strength we need, the crowd murmured. Some dragons nodded. Others looked angry. But everyone listened, and his caretaker, Maya Rodriguez of Earth, has shown us that humans have much to teach us about compassion, adaptation, and the refusal to abandon those we love. These are not weaknesses. These are strengths we have ignored for too long. In the crowd, Lord Venkar exchanged a glance with Lady Thyrsa. The signal was given. Hidden among the festival performers were assassins dressed as servants. They began to move toward the stairs that led to the balcony. Kylix felt Maya tense. Her combat instincts were awakening. Something was wrong. Maya? The hatchling asked. Stay close to me, Maya whispered. She scanned the crowd below, looking for the threat she could sense but not yet see. Then she saw them, 3 figures moving too purposefully through the chaos. Their body language was wrong. They were not celebrating. They were hunting. We need to go now. Maya turned and ran back into the palace, Kylix clutched in her arms. But Kylix was 6 months old now. He was bigger, heavier. Maya's human muscles strained with the weight. She could not run fast enough. The assassins reached the balcony and followed. Their footsteps echoed in the corridor behind Maya. She turned a corner, her mind racing. She needed to reach the royal quarters. The Emperor's guards would protect them there. But the corridor ahead was blocked. Another assassin stepped out of the shadows, holding a plasma blade. Maya skidded to a stop. She was trapped. Behind her, the other 3 assassins appeared. In front of her, the 4th. She set Kylix down gently and stepped in front of him. Stay behind me, she ordered. The hatchling was trembling, but he obeyed. Maya, what is happening? Some people don't like change. It scares them. The lead assassin, a dragon with dark gray scales, stepped forward. Give us the hatchling. Walk away, human. This is not your fight. You can return to your home world. You can live? No, Maya said simply. Do not be foolish. You are one small human. We are 4 trained warriors. You cannot win. Probably not, Maya agreed. But I'm going to try anyway. Because that's what humans do. We don't abandon our people. The assassin lunged. Maya dodged, using her smaller size to her advantage. She grabbed a ceremonial banner pole from the wall and swung it like a staff. The pole connected with the assassin's head, stunning him, but the other 3 were already moving. Maya fought with everything she had. Every combat technique from her military training. Every desperate move she had learned in the war. She blocked. She struck. She dodged, but she was only human. And they were dragons. A claw raked across her arm. She cried out in pain. Blood soaked through her uniform. Another assassin grabbed her from behind, lifting her off her feet. Maya! Kylix screamed, and then something unexpected happened. Kylix activated the emergency alarm on his mobility brace. The device Maya had built for him had a panic button, something she had insisted on. The alarm shrieked through the palace, loud and piercing. Within seconds, the royal guards arrived. They saw the assassins. They saw Maya bleeding. They saw Kylix crying. And behind them came Vexthar, his eyes blazing with rage. The Emperor of the Draconis Empire stood in the corridor, looking at the scene before him. His son was crying. The human who had shown his family nothing but kindness was bleeding. And 4 of his own people, nobles from respected houses, held weapons. The rage that filled Vexthar was ancient and terrible. It was the rage of dragons who had conquered stars and civilizations. But it was also something new. It was the rage of a father who had almost lost his child. Again. Explain, Vexthar said, his voice quiet and deadly. The assassins dropped their weapons. Their faces showed fear. They knew they were caught. They knew the punishment for attacking the royal family. Lord Venkar pushed through the crowd of guards. He held his head high, defiant even in defeat. We did what was necessary, he said, to protect tradition, to protect the empire from weakness. That human has corrupted you, your majesty. She has made you soft, made you question everything our ancestors built. She saved my son's life, Vexthar said. She convinced you to keep a defective hatchling in the palace. She filled your head with ideas about compassion and acceptance. These are not dragon values. Then perhaps, Vexthar said slowly, our values need to change. The words hung in the air. Dragons throughout the palace, drawn by the alarm, had gathered in the corridor. They heard their emperor speak words that no dragon had ever spoken before. For 10,000 years, Vexthar continued, we have believed that only the strong deserve to survive, that only the perfect deserve to live among us. We sent away anyone who did not meet our standards. We called it tradition. We called it necessary. He walked forward and gently picked up Calyx, cradling his son against his chest. The hatchling clung to him, still crying. But this is my son. He is smart, he is kind. He is brave. He thinks in ways none of us can. And we almost threw him away because he cannot fly. How many others have we thrown away? How many brilliant minds, compassionate hearts, strategic thinkers? How much have we lost because we were too proud to see past physical strength? Morthus stepped forward from the crowd. The old advisor's face was conflicted. Your Majesty, he said. I knew about the plot. The crowd gasped. Vexthar's eyes narrowed. I was at their council meeting. I knew they planned to kill Maya and take Calyx. And I said nothing, because I did not know if change was worth the risk. And now? Vexthar asked. Morthus looked at Maya, who was being tended by palace doctors. Then he looked at Calyx, who had pressed the alarm that saved them both. Now I know, Morthus said quietly. The hatchling used his mind to save himself and his caretaker. He could not fight the assassins. He could not fly away. But he found another solution. That is adaptation. That is intelligence. That is a strength we have ignored. He knelt before Vexithar, something advisors rarely did. I was wrong to stay silent. I was wrong to value tradition over truth. Punish me as you see fit. Vexthar looked at his old friend and advisor. Then he looked at the assembled dragons, at the nobles and guards and servants who had heard everything. I could punish you, he said. I could execute everyone involved in this plot. That is what tradition demands. But Maya taught me something else. She taught me that people can change, that mistakes can be learned from, that compassion is not weakness. He set Calyx down gently and walked to where Maya sat, her arm bandaged. You risked your life for my son. Again. It's what you do for family, Maya said simply. Family, Vexthar repeated. He turned back to the crowd. Maya Rodriguez is not just an employee. She is family. She has cared for my son with more dedication than many dragons showed. She has taught me more about leadership in 6 months than I learned in 3,000 years. She is, as of this moment, an official member of House Vexthar, an adopted daughter of the imperial family. The crowd erupted in whispers. A human, part of the royal family? It was unthinkable. But Vexithar was not finished. Furthermore, I am creating a new position in the imperial government, the Department of Adaptive Services. Its purpose will be to identify individuals who have been sent to the colonies, to assess their abilities and potential, and to reintegrate them into society with the support and tools they need. Maya will head this department. Your Majesty, Lady Thurxa protested. This is too much. You cannot rewrite 10,000 years of tradition because of one human. I am not rewriting tradition because of one human, Vexthar said. I am rewriting tradition because it was wrong. Because we have wasted countless lives maintaining a system that valued appearance over substance. Because my son deserves better. Because all of our children deserve better. He looked at Morthos. You will assist Maya in this new department. You know our systems. You understand our culture. Together you will help me fix what we have broken. Morthos bowed his head. Yes, Your Majesty. As for the assassins and those who planned this attack, Vexthar's voice grew cold. Exile. Not to a comfortable colony, but to the mining moons. Let them learn what true hardship is. Perhaps they will develop compassion. The guards led the conspirators away. The crowd slowly dispersed, and Vexthar sat down next to Maya, suddenly looking very tired. You have turned my empire upside down, he said. Sorry about that, Maya replied. Do not apologize. It needed to happen. He looked at her bandaged arm. You could have died. Yeah, but I didn't, and neither did Calyx. That's what matters. The hatchling climbed into Maya's lap, careful of her injured arm. You are very brave, he said in his improving galactic common. So are you. You pressed that alarm button. You saved us both. I used my mind, Calyx said proudly. Like you taught me. That's right, see? You don't need wings to be a hero. 5 years passed. The changes in the Draconis Empire were slow but steady. The Department of Adaptive Services brought back over 3,000 dragons from the colonies. Many struggled to adjust, but others thrived. Engineers who could not fly but could design ships better than anyone. Scientists whose weak bodies housed brilliant minds. Artists whose differences gave them unique perspectives. The empire did not become weaker. It became stronger, more innovative, more adaptable. Other species began to respect dragons not just for their physical might, but for their growing wisdom and compassion. Calyx grew into a young dragon of 11 years. He still could not fly, but he glided through the palace with grace using his advanced mobility harness. He was the Emperor's chief strategist now, advising on matters of diplomacy and defense. His mind was his greatest weapon, just as Maya had always said. One evening, Vexthar found Maya in the garden. She was older now, her hair showing gray. Humans aged so quickly compared to dragons, but her spirit was as fierce as ever. I received a message from the Centauri Union today, Vexthar said. They want to implement a similar program. They want to learn from us. That's wonderful, Maya said. They specifically requested that you visit as a consultant. They want to understand how humans approach disability and inclusion. Maya laughed. Who would have thought? A waitress from Earth Station teaching empires how to run their societies. You were never just a waitress, Vexthar said. You were always a teacher. I just needed to be ready to learn. He sat beside her and they watched the twin suns set. Below them, in the courtyard, Calyx was teaching a group of young dragons a strategy game. Some of the young dragons had disabilities, others did not. But they all played together, learning from each other. Do you regret it? Vexthar asked. Leaving your home? Staying here? No, Maya said. My family is proud of me. My brother Miguel says I'm doing important work. And you know what? He's right. This is where I'm supposed to be. You changed everything, Vexthar said quietly. No, Maya corrected him. You changed everything. I just showed you what was possible. You were brave enough to actually do it. The Dragon Monarch looked at this small human who had walked into his life in a restaurant and somehow transformed an empire. He had spent 10,000 years building a civilization of strength and power. But it had taken one human waitress to teach him what true strength really meant. It meant seeing value where others saw weakness. It meant adapting instead of abandoning. It meant refusing to leave anyone behind. It meant having the courage to change, even when the entire galaxy thought you were wrong. And in the end, that courage had made his empire stronger than it had ever been before.